Society sells you two clean stories about OnlyFans creators. You hear about the empowered entrepreneur, the modern business person taking control of her sexuality and financial destiny. Or you hear about the broken victim, trapped by trauma and desperate for validation. Here is the brutal truth. Both stories are a lie. They are too simple, too clean, too comfortable. They serve a convenient narrative that keeps the observer passive. The public debate wants a simple moral category, but the real psychology is far more uncomfortable than either narrative wants to admit. This is not about judgment. This is about cold calculus. It is about the transaction of self and the measurable price of attention capital. The creator's first step is purely rational self-interest. Most people who take this path are not acting on impulse. They are acting on arithmetic. They ran a calculation, consciously or unconsciously, and found that trading digital intimacy for money was the highest yield asset they owned in a brutally competitive world. The alternative was a grinding, traditional existence, crippling student debt, a minimum wage trap, or watching their lives stagnate while the cost of entry to the middle class accelerates out of reach. They observed the linear, punishing returns of conventional employment and opted for the exponential leverage of digital performance. They saw an arbitrage opportunity in the market of attention and exploited it without sentiment. This is a strategic exchange of reputation debt for immediate, rapid capital. They are not selling sex, they are selling the illusion of access. They are selling a manufactured scarcity in a world overflowing with free content. This is not a moral failure, it is a conscious rejection of traditional value structures. It is a calculated deal with the modern devil. The moment they monetize their self, they must commit to radical psychological detachment. Every public figure builds a persona, but when the product is intimacy, the detachment must be clinical and impenetrable. The money they earn is not merely income, it is a psychological shield against the degradation of the work. If you cannot separate the person from the product, if you allow yourself to internalize every comment, every transaction, every request personally, you will break. Fast. The goal here is clarity. We must analyze this dynamic not through the lens of judgment, but through the cold, hard lens of value arbitrage. We are dissecting a system. You must understand the 6 core psychological prisons that trap both the seller and the buyer. This necessary understanding is the only way to inoculate yourself against the reality of how the market breaks you. The successful creator masters the digital clone. This is not them. This clone is a carefully constructed version of the self designed only to maximize profit. It mimics connection, warmth, and sexual desire, but it operates under a simple, non-negotiable directive: generate revenue. The money they earn is the price of maintaining this costly illusion. Maintaining this split personality, the self and the asset, requires constant, exhaustive psychological effort. Every thought, every genuine feeling, every spontaneous word has to be filtered through the cold, analytical question: is this the real me or the product me? This is the internal cost analysis of a business. The creator effectively becomes an accountant managing a sexualized asset, a mind ruthlessly optimizing the emotional output of a separate entity. This is the long-term compounding cost, the atrophy of authenticity. When you spend every hour being a crafted product, you lose the ability to act just because you want to. The simple, unmonetized joys of life become suspect. Every decision is measured by its external financial return. The consequence is brutal. The boundary between performance and personality does not blur, it is erased. The most damaging implication is the inability to form genuine attachments. They may gain financial independence, but they suffer emotional insolvency. The performance poisons the well. They are skilled at being wanted by the masses, but they lose the fundamental capacity to be truly known by a single person. The mask is paid for, but the original face underneath is perpetually forgotten, even by the wearer. The greatest psychological trap is the algorithm of entitlement. This is a neurological prison built on false reward. When high income arrives without the corresponding high effort, the slow grinding climb of traditional competence, the mind becomes wired for instant, disproportionate reward. This swift psychological adaptation, known as hedonic adaptation, sets a new unsustainable baseline for expected reward. The mind becomes intolerant of delay. This is a neurochemical addiction, and the platform is merely the dealer, continually raising the required dose. Pivoting paralysis. This instant reward loop creates pivoting paralysis. The creator knows, rationally, that the income is not sustainable forever. They know the market will shift, yet the emotional resistance to working 40 hours a week in a traditional linear field for a fraction of their current pay is overwhelming. The slow, hard, deliberate work required for a traditional pivot feels subjectively unbearable. They become a prisoner of their own success. They stay, they perform, they continually feed the clone, convinced they will pivot soon. But the debt to the algorithm gets stronger every year, and the will to perform hard, meaningful, low dopamine work dissolves under the weight of expectation. The creator often harbors the illusion that they can hedge the risk. They think they can simply delete the accounts and the reputation debt, the permanent social cost, will vanish. They are profoundly wrong. The internet never forgets. This content is archived, screened, and indexed by third parties. The cost is a future employment tax, a social risk that silently matures the moment they try to re-enter a traditional, non-digital sphere, affecting everything from job interviews to partner acceptance. The money buys them a crucial commodity: time. Time to pivot, time to invest, time to escape the digital sphere entirely. The core strategy must be to execute a radical, front-loaded exchange. They accepted the permanent, non-negotiable cost of reputation for a powerful gain in wealth velocity. The true test of their strategy is whether they can successfully parlay that initial capital into an unassailable position: hard assets like real estate, anonymous high-yield investments, or a second, non-traceable business, before the debt matures and their earnings inevitably dry up. If they fail to convert their fleeting influence into permanent, non-digital value, they become permanently disposable, left only with the emotional cost. You cannot understand the creator without understanding the buyer. The men who pay are not buying content, they are purchasing a temporary emotional placebo to interrupt their loneliness. This platform is a massive global exchange for the commodity of solitude. It is an instant, low-risk, emotional solution that requires no vulnerability, zero social competence, and guarantees consumption without the fear of rejection. The consumer is funding a total escape from the brutal reality of the real dating market. That market requires effort, confidence, risk, and the courage to face rejection. The digital market requires only capital. The buyer pays a fee to stay weak, to bypass the difficult, character-building work of self-improvement and emotional resilience. This transaction is the normalization of a substitute for intimacy. This is the truth of the tax on incompetence. You are paying to avoid growth, accelerating your own dependency and isolation. You are paying to maintain your current, inadequate state. The creators who succeed long-term are masters of emotional manipulation executed with business precision. They sell the fantasy that you are special, that this connection is somehow different or exclusive. They leverage the soft hook of personal chat, the tailored reply, the remembered detail, to create the illusion of individual attention that scales across thousands of subscribers. The actual product is not the nudity. The product is fantasy management, designed to exploit the gap between male need and social capacity. The digital pacifier. The buyer knows, intellectually, this is an illusion, but they pay because the temporary relief from loneliness feels necessary. You buy their manufactured vulnerability to mask your own deep psychological deficit, the profound lack of genuine validation. They are exploiting the universal human desire to feel chosen, to feel like the exception. This behavior trains your brain to accept fake rewards, creating a destructive consumption loop. You are paying for a digital pacifier, a solution designed to keep you weak, isolated, and permanently dependent on the system, rather than demanding you face the reality of your life. Your attention is the fuel. If you consume this content, you are not a passive observer, you are a fuel source. Every click, every subscription, every private message is the oil that runs this entire psychological machine. The pathology of the seller is only sustained by the pathology of the buyer. The desire for manufactured intimacy is met by the supply of manufactured detachment. You are part of the problem you claim to judge. You are funding the system that perpetuates your own weakness. The real cost of degradation. The real cost of this entire economy is not the creator's reputation, it is the degradation of male expectations. You are training your brain that meaningful connection can be delivered instantly through a subscription fee, destroying the necessity of genuine social effort. You are cheapening the value of your own pursuit. You are spending your life debating the ethics of a symptom while refusing to address the core weakness of your own life, your failure to build real competence and real relationships. The transaction is complete. You bought the illusion, they bought time. The creator chose capital over convention. The consumer chose avoidance over action. Now ask yourself, what price are you really willing to pay to escape your current reality? Are you willing to pay the price of true character-forging effort, or will you continue to pay the price of comfortable weakness? Analyze your price.